Welcome, everybody, to the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Gruely Truth Sports Network. As always, the Gruely Truth is powered by Betting.net. Betting.net's the best bet for finding the online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Make sure you check him out now at Betting.net. I am your co-host for the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, 1981 national champion, member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, Slammin' Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great, Mike. We'll talk about the game. Obviously, a very entertaining game, but I thought this is the IU basketball post game show. I thought we did the weekly show.
It doesn't matter. I just called the same thing. Don't rip on it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just want to clarify to everybody that there
I
are
have
two
5 minutes
shows.
to get this ready. All right.
There is the weekly show which we did, which we will continue to do, and then periodically when big games
Post-game
occur,
show.
we will do a post game show. We will not do a post game show every game because some of them will just not be worth doing. However, this game is certainly worth doing a post game show for.
Indiana
So,
beats Purdue. What was it? 69, 64, 69, something like that. I don't know. What the
something
hell
like
was
that.
the
I don't
score?
know. I don't
I
know.
don't even know. I got a recap from Purdue winning 69, 67. That must have been last year. I got to
No.
find the right one. But I'll tell you what. Indiana played great in the first half. Second half, not so much. But the Hoosiers ended up winning 79-74. They gutted it out at the end. And the thing that I really took note of, I know Trace Jackson Davis was awesome. Puchafino had his spots, Trey Galloway. But to me, a stat line doesn't tell the picture. The story to me is this. Purdue got the game within like 2 or 3 points. If you remember, Trace Jackson Davis goes in to try to dunk it over Edey. He loses the ball. Race Thompson gets it, hits 2 free throws. Then on the ensuing Purdue drive down to try to cut it to possibly 1 point, he had a great closeout on a baseline 3. And then he stole the ball right after that. I think those 40 seconds right there from like a minute and a half to like the 45-second mark, I think that is what sealed the game because Indiana was in trouble until Race made the plays with the free throw, the closeout, and the steal.
Going back to talk about what you initially said. I thought the tale of the two halves was in the
Tempo.
first half, Mike. Indiana played to win the game.
Well,
Okay.
they controlled the tempo. They made
Well,
Purdue play at a rate that's
yeah,
uncomfortable for them.
and we'll talk about all that because that's integral, and you highlighted exactly where I'm going. But in the first half, they played to win. In the second half, they played not to lose. And you can see what happens to a team that is doing everything that we're going to talk about here in a second about the first half. And I'll let you go through all that and I'll comment on it. But in the first half, Indiana just flat out played to win. They did everything with the intent of dominating Purdue, and they did that. Second half, they came out, and this was what I told my wife when we were watching the game. My fear was that they would come out and slow the tempo or lose control of the tempo.
They lost control of it.
They
I
lost
don't think they
control of
tried
the
to slow
tempo.
it.
Yeah, but now in Purdue's defense, Purdue is a great basketball team. They had to come out to play to win the game. So, but Indiana had the opportunity to not allow that momentum to shift. They allowed that momentum to shift, and we get the results of where we're all cruising along at a 15-point game at the halftime to where it's down to single digits very quickly. And next thing you know, we're in jeopardy of losing the lead, although we never lost the lead. But
Yeah.
go ahead and break it down with everything we just talked about because you're right. How did Indiana, Mike, lose control of the second half of the game?
I don't think they lost control. I think Zach Edey took control at the start of the second half. I mean, he scores 6 points right away. And the thing that bothered me, I thought overall Mike Woodson outcoached Matt Painter. But that first 5 minutes into the second half, I don't know why we were trying to just guard Zach Edey with just Trace Jackson Davis. They got away from that after the 5 minutes that went bad. And I thought the way they doubled, I thought the way they closed out on threes, because Edey's a good passer out of the post. They closed out well there. For the game, Indiana played really good defense. Even playing really good defense, Purdue shot 50%, Indiana shot 52%. From three-point range, those closeouts limited them to only making 6 3-pointers.
Yeah, 6 of
Indiana,
18 for 33%.
Indiana was 4 for 10. The thing about Indiana, they don't shoot a lot of 3-pointers, but they make a lot of 3-pointers that they make. But when I look at
Right.
stats, the things that stand out to me: total rebounds, 38-22 Purdue, but also the two biggest stats, and this is the difference in this 5-point game. Turnovers. Purdue had 16, I think 10 or 11 in the first half.
Yeah.
Indiana only had 8 turnovers. And then the big one,
Critical.
Purdue, one of the best free throw shooting teams in the Big Ten, 10 for 17. Indiana, who can be shaky at the line, 15 for 18.
Right.
So I think in the end, Steve, I don't think it was that Indiana wasn't playing to win the game in the second half. I think Purdue stepped it up, played really well. And the good thing here, though, at the end of the game, Indiana overcame the Purdue run. But I can tell you, there is nobody in the Big Ten that can win Big Ten Player of the Year unless his name is Zach Edey or Trace Jackson Davis. I thought they were both phenomenal today, and they were phenomenal in all aspects of the game.
And don't be surprised if you see co-MVPs in the Big Ten this year. It would not, whether it happens or not, I don't know, but it would not surprise me. And I think they're both deserving candidates. But yeah, and when I say that IU played not to lose, I'm not saying that's a negative so much as they changed their mentality. And you are right. Purdue took them out of their game plan by stepping up their game plan in a huge way. Whether Painter or Woodson, I don't think either coach made major contributions to this game.
I think in the first half, I think the initial game plan by Woodson was really good.
The initial game plan was great.
The way they attacked Edey, even though he played well, he was much better in the second half than the first half.
Yeah.
And I thought Indiana, for the most part, I mean, we have Jalen Hood-Schifino is only a freshman. And the problem with him is there's still those 4 or 5 occurrences a game where he'll run down and take an ill-advised shot. When you've got Trace Jackson Davis down there, he's got to stop doing that. But I think overall he played well. He just needs to be slightly more consistent. I think he's going to be a hell of a player. It doesn't matter what he is. You got to play and you got to win the game. I don't care. He's not a freshman because, I mean, Indiana's played 20-some games right now. That's bullshit.
Mike, in my first game as a IU player, as a freshman against the Russians, I scored 26 points. In the end, that was about 1/30th of all points I scored at IU.
Steve, the difference is this. When you are a freshman point guard, and really the only other point guard on the team can't play, you just got to play within yourself. And I think sometimes he gets out of that. And what I'm saying here is I expect that. The great thing about it is he
only had 1 turnover.
I'm talking about going down. I think he took 3 or 4 shots where the ball never touched Trace Jackson Davis.
8 for 15. He shot over 50%. I'm happy with that. He only took 1 3-pointer. That's fine. I thought that was commendable that he didn't feel it. He didn't take it. So I'm not going to beat him up as bad.
No, I think he played well. I'm just saying this. I'm saying
he scored 16 points. He was the second leading scorer on the team. I'm sorry.
Fucking deal how many points he scored. He's the point guard. I don't care how many points he scores.
No, point guards don't usually put a lot of points on the board.
Well, put it like this. When you're sitting there, you can talk about controlling tempo.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got complaints of it because I didn't see this. Hey, yeah, Steve Risley, whatever, for Froggy Talking Sports in Vivi, Indiana. And the thing I did notice is this, though. I thought Schifino in the first half controlled the game much better. I thought the second half, he had those 3 or 4 where he dribbled down and shoot, which I think – yeah, I'm talking about the second half of the game with Schifino. I thought when he quickly took those shots, I think that's what helped Purdue slow it down because in the first half, the game was completely the way the Hoosiers wanted it. So you had up-tempo, you had quick shots. Indiana scored 50 points on a team that hadn't given up over 70 all year. And I think they controlled that tempo with Hood-Schifino. I think in the second half, they went one-on-one against Zach Edey, which was a mistake, but they got out of that. That's fine. And I understand that Woods is probably thinking, Trace doesn't have any fouls. He's got a couple. But also, if you remember, my biggest key to this game was simply the fact that when it got down to it, they made free throws. And I would say 25 of the 40 minutes, they controlled the tempo. This is a team that, like I said, if Schifino tones it down just a little bit, It stops making those turnovers. Indiana was 10-2 in fast break points in the first half. That was half of their lead, was them controlling the tempo and forcing that. The second half, I do think they got a little bit away from what they were doing, but I also understand why Woodson did what Woodson did. It just didn't work out. But Purdue's a tough-ass team. And I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that they were Purdue and since 1980 have always choked, I would be worried about them this year. But I mean, Zach Edey is a hell of a basketball player. He is so much more improved than he was last year. Yeah. I've seen bits and pieces of Purdue games. I usually, Big Ten wise, I watch the Indiana games. I watch the highlights. Zach Edey he's a player. And Trace Jackson Davis, he'll get drafted into the NBA now. He can play.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And you're right on both fronts, and you're right on all fronts. Some things to nitpick on that I thought were
Damn
good.
It, I just didn't. You gave me shit about it.
Okay, well, give me shit about it too. Just two observations I had. One is at the end of the game, I told my wife, we were watching together, and I said, right now, what Indiana's got to close out defensively on the 3-point shots. They cannot let Purdue light up their 3-point shots.
For the most part, they did.
Trouble. They did, and they did it the whole game, but they did it strongly at the end of that game. They got up in the face and basically took the 3-point shot away from Purdue, a makeable 3-point shot. The other thing that concerned me a little bit, and again, a win's a win, so I'm going to talk to my team about this. I'm not going to beat them up on it, but I keep track of one thing. I'm really hung up on this Trace Jackson Davis touching the ball 70% of the time.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, and as they got down the court,
in the second half, it didn't happen as much.
It didn't happen as much as the game got closer. There was a little bit of players starting to try and go a little one-on-one. Not bad. I mean, not enough to cost us the game, obviously. But I think that's one thing. If I was Mike, I would show that in practice and film and say, look, I have on my assistants, the film guys I have, give me the number of times the ball came across half court and Trace Jackson touched it in the first half. Then give that to me in the second half. And let's make a coaching opportunity out of that. Hey, when things get tough, don't break what we're doing. And that's a great example to show that to this basketball team is don't stop giving the ball to Trace 70% of the time. And Trace is more than willing to give the ball back up if you get open. He's a more than adequate passer. He's a good passer. He finds the open man.
He's almost like me. I'm a good passer.
Oh, you are a good passer.
Yeah, he's a good passer. See?
Yeah. Well, the way you talk, I don't think you're a pastor.
I'm not the one who uses the Lord's. Yeah, you never heard me use the Lord's name in vain, but we've heard it from you.
Well, God damn it, I'm sorry.
See, will you stop?
Oh, shit.
You meant to do that. You'll go to hell for it, not me, so I'm not too worried about it.
I'll get a Hail Mary. So I this was a big win for Indiana across the board. I thought, but I'm more pleased with how they played than the win. I would not have been as disappointed even had they lost this game.
I would have. With a 16-point lead, Steve, that could have been soul-crushing for a team.
The thing about it is I can directly pinpoint why they would have lost this game. It's because I thought that they softened their own play or Purdue took it away from them, however you want to. But then they allowed Purdue to take it away from them. Championship teams don't allow you to have things taken away. It happened in 81 when we won. We stepped it up so big in the second half that North Carolina couldn't touch us. We took North Carolina completely out of their game. They dominated the first half until the last 2 or 3 minutes when we got the lead on Randy's jump shot. And in the second half, it was over. I mean, that game was over 5 minutes into the second half. It was done. It was just what the final score was going to be. And I thought there was a little bit of reverse of that. So, again, just a coaching opportunity. I'm not going to sit here. There's no reason to beat Mike up. There's no reason to beat the team up. I thought Mike did an outstanding job, like you said, of preparing this team to play. I loved what I saw in the first 10 minutes of this ball game. And I attribute that to Mike. That gave him the lead. It gave them Edey in foul trouble. It gave him so much that they were able to control the game and then not cruise, but they were able to withstand the torpedo hit they got early in the second half and let the game get down to single digits and then let it get score changeable on one possession. They overcame that, and they did it the right way. They got the ball back into Trace's hands, and they did great closeouts defensively. And I'm going to stay harped on that. Go ahead.
Well, I harped on it too. I mean, there's not much to hate about this game.
No, there's not.
And really, the big key to me is you're going to get Xavier Johnson back in a couple weeks. If he could come in and play within himself, which I think he's had issues with.
That's a $10 question.
This team will then be even that much better. And the other guy here, Jordan Geronimo. And George Geronimo is a guy that I don't think gets enough credit either for the energy he can bring off the bench when he is playing well. So overall, I look at those guys. I thought Trey Galloway played with a lot of energy today, especially in the first half. He came out and got a couple buckets early. He made an assist or two. I thought Trey Galloway played well. And Tamar Bates with the one pass. I just think that we could get more out of those guys than what they've shown us. So I think this team has not even touched the ceiling that they could be.
You know what, Mike? You said it. This team has a lot of room to improve. They still do. I mean, they're not peaking right now. They're getting better. And there's a difference between peaking and getting better. You know, they're just improving straight. This is their 6th win in 7 games now, isn't it?
6 out of the last 7 and 1 loss was to Maryland.
And since we beat this dead horse that we both think Indiana played well, we found some mistakes they could improve upon. We found the more good things that they did right than we found things they did wrong.
Oh, by far.
And that results into a win over the number 1 team in the country, which now puts Tennessee at number 1 because they eked out a win. But anyway, let me ask you this, that we can talk about this kind of shift gears just a touch. Does this win by Indiana, does it diminish or IU's loss to Maryland, or does it enhance IU's loss to Maryland?
I think that number 1,
that's a good question, isn't it? That's a good question.
What you saw is this. Quit patting yourself on the back, Steve. But I think this. I think what we saw, the reason it diminishes the loss to me is because what we saw is against Maryland, they didn't control tempo. They allowed Maryland control the tempo. They controlled it today. Maybe they learned from that lesson. But the caveat there is the Maryland game was at Maryland. So we kind of ran into Wednesday when we played Maryland. We kind of ran into what Purdue ran into today. My only worry is Purdue figured it out, settled it down, and got back in the game. Indiana didn't. Now, I also think the one thing we're missing here, Malik Renew played really well. I think he had like 6 or 8 points. He had 4 big rebounds. He only played 20 minutes. The other guy that stood out to me again, and it's the second time in 3 games, was Caleb Banks. He only played 7 minutes, but in those 7 minutes, he had 3 rebounds. He had an assist. He had 4 points, and he brings energy off the bench, which is huge. You get Jordan Geronimo back. Hopefully, they'll still give Banks his 5 or 6 minutes. Because in those 5 or 6 minutes, if they're productive, they help because they get a starter off the floor for rest, and you're still being productive. So I think when you look at this, Renew, I thought Bates played fine today. He played 19 minutes. He only had 1 assist and 3 points, but he played good defensively. He moved the ball. We need him to get shooting it the way we think he can. Miller Kopp, I thought, was solid. Only had 6 points, but once again,
2 big threes. They were 2 big threes. They came in timely. They were timely threes.
Yeah. And I thought Trey Galloway.
When Purdue was making a run, Kopp came right through and shut their run down with a big 3. So those 6 points were incredibly important. 6 points to stopping Purdue's momentum and allowing Indiana to regroup.
Yeah, and when you look at Race Thompson played his first game back in a month or so, 2 games ago. Played a little bit, looked bad. Did he play? Looked a little better. Played, looked a little better. Today, he only played 22 minutes, but he had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 6 points. And if you notice this, he was in the game when things were starting to spin out of control. And like I said, from a minute 30 down to the 50-second mark, he made 3 huge plays. He hits 2 free throws. He closes out great on a baseline 3 that I thought for sure was going to be an easy make. He closed out on it so quick. It really messed the look up there. And then he stole the ball right after that.
Yeah.
So to me, that was the biggest point of the game. So that tells me Race Thompson's getting back to where Race Thompson needs to be. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it. That was supposed to be the number one team in the country. And if you look at their schedule, who they've beaten, how they've beaten them, they probably are. And Indiana was good enough today to beat them, have a 16-point lead on them. So I don't think this is like last year where they got hot at the end and then they'll peter out. I think this is a team that Coach Woodson has done a very good job with this team this year. He did a really good job last year to get that team to where at the end of the season they were much better. So I think what we're seeing here looks more like Indiana basketball than we've seen in a long time.
Oh, God. Yeah, it does. And you know, Mike is continually working as hard as anybody, I think, to learn how to coach in college basketball and coach in the Big Ten. And he's shown as much improvement as a coach, I think, as the players have shown as a team. And I like what I'm seeing. I agree with you. I think it diminishes Maryland. I mean, to lose one game out of 7 in the Big Ten at this point of the season, when everybody's trying to get prepared for the Big Ten tournament and make stretch runs, and Indiana suddenly is the hottest team in the Big Ten now. You know, they're the winningest team in the Big Ten in the last 7 games. Nobody else is.
They beat tied with Purdue, I think.
That's right. Purdue's only lost 1 game.
I'm not sure when Purdue lost. I don't remember. It was 7
when they
games
lost
ago
to
or 10
Rutgers.
games
Yeah,
ago.
they lost to
And that brings us to this team's going to have to be good to finish this strong because they're going to play Rutgers. Good team. They play them at home. They should beat them. Rutgers is one of those teams that's much better at home than they are on the road.
Right.
They go to Michigan. Juwan Howard coaches them, so we could just say
rivalry.
We could just say nobody coaches Michigan. There's no rivalry with Michigan.
It's a rivalry. Indiana goes up there about as hated as Purdue comes to Assembly.
It doesn't matter. It's only a rivalry if we hate them too. Why would we hate Michigan? Who the hell is Michigan? And then you've got Northwestern, which is a very winnable game. You've got Illinois here, which is another team coached by a guy that I don't know how the hell he got a job coaching a Big Ten team. You go to Michigan State. You go to Purdue. You finish with Iowa here. So we're 16-7 right now. You get the Rutgers win. All right. You get the Illinois win at home. You get the Iowa win at home. Gets you to 19. Probably puts you in the tournament because now you've got big-time wins over Purdue at home. But don't forget, you've got the win over Xavier on the road. Xavier's ranked in the top 15 right now. Mm-hmm. So I think 19.
You got to win against Purdue.
Yeah, I think, you got those are probably your 2 biggest wins. But with those 2 wins, 19 wins, you'll be above 500 in the Big Ten. We're not going to have to sit here and wonder if we're on the freaking bubble. But you look at this. You beat Michigan. You beat Northwestern, which you should. I think they should go to Michigan State and win. Right there, to me, I mean, the Purdue game's huge. But I think this Indiana team is a team that's going to fall somewhere between a 3 and a 6 seed if they continue to progress the way they are.
Agreed entirely. I think that's a good notch for them between 3 and 6, depending on how they do. Remember, too, that in the middle of the season, which is a grinding part of the season, they threw in a 6-for-7 winning streak. All right. And only, like I said, only Purdue's done that in the Big Ten. And I think everybody considers the Big Ten the Premier League.
I don't think so. I don't think the Big Ten's any good at all. I think you've got Purdue and Indiana and nothing else. I really, when you look at the Big Ten, Steve, I mean, teams like Maryland and Rutgers, they can pop up and beat about anybody. But are they a team you really think could win 3 or 4 straight games? Even Michigan State, Illinois.
You know, Mike, as well as I do, Mike, in the tournament, it's win 1 game. It's
yeah, but as well as I do. You know as well as I do that the Big Ten has not been successful in the tournament in 2 decades.
Yeah.
So,
but Maryland and Rutgers don't have to win 6 or 7 games. They just got to keep winning 1 game, and that's the nature of the beast in the tournament.
It's really not, because it's completely different. Because number one, after you win that game, you only have a day to prepare for the next game.
Where's your championship ring?
Oh shit! I've got one. I got like 6 over here, and I got a 7th coming.
In arena football.
Yeah. And when was the last time you won a ring? Oh, that's Rocky Balboa again. Damn it! Hold on, I'm on a show right now, Sylvester. Call me back in like 10 minutes. All right. I like to put the Rocky theme on there. Also, I would like to say this: when is the last time you won a national championship ring?
43 years ago, 42 years ago.
And I won one in November.
There you go. Congratulations.
All right. So get off me. And yes, it was for football, but it still
Okay.
counts.
All
And
right.
no, it's not semi-pro football because that's for a bunch of guys that are.
Hey, should I tell everybody my great idea for fixing football in the NFL? With
No,
the
because
penalty
now
situation?
I'm really starting to think you didn't come up with it because right after you told me that, I Google searched it and like 3 people had brought it up too. So I don't know, but I'm going to give you credit for it. But you know what, Steve? You're getting so accurate. I'm thinking maybe you need to go to betting.net to find the best promotions, offers, and bonus codes so
There
you
you
don't
go.
have to. Head over to the website now to take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits. Our top-ranked sportsbook for this show is SI Sportsbook. Great sports book. Hadn't been out very long. You can get all kind of great bonuses, especially if you click on the link in the description of the video down below if you're watching on YouTube. Steve, do you want to go Monday night, Steve? And we will preview the upcoming 2 games for the week.
I would love to, Mike.
And we will do that at 7 o'clock Monday night. So make sure, 7 o'clock Monday night, so all the old folks like me aren't in bed yet when we do the show.
Hey, I want to, before we go, I want to make a call out to one of my dearest and best friends. What is Joe's last name? Joe Spillman.
Yeah, he's one of your dearest and best friends.
Joe and I are newly acquainted best friends now. And his buddy from Froggy's Talking Sports, Ryan. I can't remember Ryan's name.
Hey, don't be promoting your show here because they did a show last night and never even mentioned the grueling truth, even though that's how they got the show going.
Oh, well.
I thought it was pretty weak, actually. But that's all right because
I wasn't on. I wasn't on.
What's that got to do with anything?
I'll be on next show.
Oh, all right. Well, as soon as they plug us, we'll plug them. They had their chance last night because I would have plugged the hell out of them. But sometimes people just don't like us, Steve.
But their show's on your website.
No, it's not.
It's on your Facebook page.
It's not.
I saw it.
That's their other show. They'll probably pull that too without letting me know.
Who's pulling it?
I don't know. I think it would be the people that are doing it.
Is it Malta? Malta's pulling it?
No, Malta's not pulling it.
Corporate office is pulling it?
They just disappeared. Corporate didn't pull anything. Everything we do is golden, Steve.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, to wind it up here, we say it. This truly was a great win for a lot of people tied to IU.
We need to quit charging the court when we beat Purdue too. It's such a bad precedent.
I know that. My wife said, "I bet
Purdue is shit. We should not charge the court for beating Purdue."
Well, it's sophomoric to do that anyway. Indiana fans should be a little more attuned to winning games like this and get back in their mindset of an expectation to win this game, not a mob scene after you win it. And that's what I want. I want Indiana fans, any of you who are listening, act like we've been here before. Okay? That's what Indiana basketball is all about.
Did the floor ever get charged when you played at IU?
No, not that I can recall. I'm trying to think of if they did. No, I don't recall a time when the floor got charged.
Yeah, because I don't really remember growing up ever seeing that. The first time I think I remembered seeing it, it may have before that was the Indiana Kentucky
that
game.
was an era when the expectation was to win and beat Purdue, and when they did, people went to Nick's English Hut or Little Zagreb's and got a steak or got a pint of beer and stole the mug and went to Pagliai's Pizza or Mother Bear's and went back to your dorm room and those in those days we didn't storm courts. We went and got ready for the next opponent, and that's why in those days Indiana won championships.
Act like you've been there.
Act like you've been there before, and I think we're getting there. I think Mike is doing a commendable job of getting them there. The AD, what's the AD's? He's a good guy too. I can't think of his name either. I'm not getting dementia, but I'm forgetting everything.
I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure from what I read, I don't remember what I read, but I think that means you might be getting dementia.
I know. I can't remember it either.
I haven't been able to remember anything in 25 years, so it doesn't mean dementia. We just might be slow too.
Good win for Indiana. They did a lot of things right to earn this win. It didn't fall in their lap. I'll put it that way.
All right, guys. Hey, and you know what? If you're an IU fan and you feel lucky and you like playing poker or slot machines, see, I forget stuff too. You ought to sign up with stake.us and use our exclusive promo code TGT Social, all capital letters, to secure your unique 5% rake back bonus. And make sure you check out SI Sportsbook and a link to the description and below if you're watching on YouTube. All right, Steve, we will be back Monday night for Indiana Basketball Weekly. Let's see if we can get 2 more Hoosier wins coming up this week. We'll preview the Rutgers game and everything that's going on in the week. And we'll also talk Big Ten power rankings, which I'm sure somebody will have them out by then. But for now, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth. We're the